Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Trust you and yours are well, and you're loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my esteemed subscribers you loved, celebrated, and appreciated. All right, I bring you news of great joy. Yes, why we keep saying that this year is a very significant year in the sense that the motherland went through a lot in the past year. The year that just went by, according to the Gregorian calendar, mind you, that's the calendar we use. There's a lot of debate about calendar, which we have discussed here on this channel. You can check out some videos about that, so I don't want to go into that. But according to the Gregorian calendar we are using, we are now in the new year, and the past year was a very rough one for the motherland, and a lot went down to the point that we began to ask questions. And some of us who always wrote for the motherland, who always propagate the motherland, we felt somehow because you can't be telling people to come, and a lot of things keep happening that sometimes you're ashamed to talk about. But I keep telling you, both the good, the bad, the ugly, I bring it here to you. I do not hide anything. We always deliberate upon it here. It's not all rosy on the continent, but we can make it livable. Okay, it's just that there are forces around that is making things so difficult. So the last year that just went by was a very tough one for the motherland, and it's like this year is gonna be a good one because this year is a year of ending for a lot that has happened. A lot of evil that have been tying around, both when it comes to personal life and in the life of the nation. And then maybe it might not be a good year for some people who have been having it so smooth and manipulating other people for some time. And that's what's taking me to Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast finally kicking out the French military and saying, see guys, I think it's time. It's time that I also take the step of my brothers, brother nations, Senegal, Chad, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. It's time for you to go as well. And then when you begin to see the number of the countries in Africa, especially West Africa, that is pulling out the hold of the French government, you begin to ask, not even asking, you begin to see that the wind of change that I keep talking about that started in the Sahel. Remember, if you've been on this channel long enough, you know that I keep telling you that my prayer is that the wind of change that started in the Sahel will spread gradually. That's what I've been hoping for. That's what I've been rooting for. That's what I've been, believing in that will happen definitely. And it's like it's gradually happening. Initially started with a country, and then two countries, and it became three countries, and then they form an alliance, that's the Alliance of the Sahel State, and gradually it's getting towards Senegal, towards Chad, and now Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast of all people. Ivory Coast that entertained the French military warship. For Ivory Coast, to finally say no, it's time to, tag along with my brothers and kick out these people, no matter how much they are paying me, no matter how much I have earned, no matter how much security they promise me. It's time to follow suit to what my brothers are doing in the Sahel. For Ivory Coast to do this, just forget, Majesties, things will change. Because when I heard the news, I was happy. Do you know why? Because the case of Ivory Coast is a different issue. But Ivory Coast was a major pawn that the French government was using against the Sahel leaders and the Sahel liberation. Okay? So now you see why I was happy that Ivory Coast decided at this time, the beginning of this Gregorian calendar year, to say, see, it is time. It is just time. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of betraying my brothers and sisters. It is time to let you go. So there is hope for the motherland. That is what I just want you to have in your head, have in your mind, and also to let you know that all the good wishes for the motherland these times have not been going to deaf ears. The spirit were hearing. Our Creator, the Almighty, was hearing. Our ancestors were not asleep. Okay? Something great will happen this year for the motherland that will turn things around, and it has started already. Because with this good news and this positive energy, when I say positive energy, in the sense that the motherland now is beginning to see the reason why they should fight for themselves, is a good news, Your Majesties. Now it's not time to relax. It's not time to relax with the positive vibration you divert to the motherland. It's not time to relax. It is time to intensify it, because this is a serious spiritual, mental, and physical war that is going to take place. And if we relax so soon, we will be defeated. Mark these words at this time.
The new year has kicked in with a renewed anti-colonial sentiment. Another nation in the region has joined the France Out chorus, and that is Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has announced that French forces will withdraw from the West African nation this month. He made the announcement in an end-of-year speech.
My dear compatriots, dear brothers and sisters, we can be proud of our army, whose modernization is now a reality. It is within this framework that we have decided on the coordinated and organized withdrawal of French forces from Ivory Coast. Thus, the camp of the 43rd Marine Infantry Battalion in Port Bouet will be handed over to the armed forces of Ivory Coast starting this January 2025.
Hours before Ivory Coast, Senegal also confirmed that French troops will leave the nation by the end of this year. The Senegalese president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has said that this year would see an end to all foreign military presence in the country. Earlier, he also announced France would have to close its military bases on its territory. 2024 has been a tough year for France in West and Central Africa, and setbacks for Paris have clearly spilled into the new year. Over the last 2 years, France was forced out of several of its former colonies. It started with the coup belt of West Africa after the military government took charge in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. They kicked France out, and then Chad, which was considered France's most stable and loyal partner in Africa, abruptly ended its military cooperation with its former colonial power. Now France has handed over its first military base in the country. Now, most recently, Senegal and Ivory Coast have joined the list. With some 600 troops, Ivory Coast is currently home to the biggest remaining contingent of French troops in West Africa. Since the independence of French colonies, France had maintained a policy of economic, political and military sway in Africa. This policy, dubbed as Francoafrique, included having thousands of permanent troops in the region. But now, France has been kicked out of more than 70% of African countries. The French remain only in Djibouti, in the Horn of Africa, with 1,500 soldiers, and in Gabon, with 350 troops. The latest members announcing France's ouster, Ivory Coast and Senegal, are also members of the regional bloc ECOWAS. The group is accused by the West African junta nations of being a puppet of the West. Military leaders of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso have split from ECOWAS and have instead formed their own alliance. They have ditched ties with the West and have forged closer relations with Russia. Taking advantage of the anti-West sentiment, Russia quickly filled the void. Its mercenaries are deployed across the Sahel to help them to fight Islamist insurgents who are active in the region. As France loses its influence, political watchers believe it has been making efforts to revive its waning political and military clout in Africa. As per reports, Paris is devising a new military strategy in the continent. It is deliberately downscaling military ties, a measure that would sharply reduce its permanent troop presence on the continent. There is only one exception, and that is Djibouti. Djibouti, where France has some 1,500 troops deployed, could now assume a greater role in Paris's Africa strategy. French President Emmanuel Macron recently visited the Horn of Africa nation. He said the French military base in the country would be reinvented as a projection point.
All right, Majesties, that was it. There's another clip coming which might interest you, okay? But I want us to dissect this a little bit. Like I said, it's a thing of joy that the wind of change that started in the Sahel is moving across West Africa. Now, talking about Paris devising a new military strategy, and they refer to Djibouti. That's where the media is pushing our minds to. But do not get it twisted. They are not leaving the whole of West Africa just yet. They are still targeting a major country in West Africa. Now, France is not just leaving this yet. It's like they feel like it's not time to give up yet. So they are targeting something much, much bigger. They are targeting a country that has a lot of influence in West Africa. And before I even open my mouth to call the name of that country, you should be aware of that country already. So they are putting in effort to use this major country to keep destabilizing or to punish these countries in West Africa that have rejected them. And then look for a way to still meander into this country once again, or into these countries once again. Their first target, obviously, is the first place that kicked them out. That is the Sahel. So they still have a lot going down. They still have a lot of planning. Like these people plan their life ahead. You see, when I tell you that there are things we need to learn from the white people as the melanated people, it's not like I'm saying that. I'm not in any way looking down on us. I'm not in any way saying that, no, do not get it twisted. Okay? Their survival strategy, do not underestimate the survival strategy of these people, of the Europeans. Do not underestimate it. When you are there doing your analysis on something they make obvious to you, they are there digging in and planning their life of maybe 50 years or 100 years ahead. Macron have already decided to use this major country in Africa, okay, their influence, either to deal with the countries that have rejected them or to look for a way to return back in a subtle way into these countries that have rejected them. So do not get it twisted.
About that, when you see a French diplomat walk through the door, your foreign minister of Senegal, what do you see? Do you see a friend? Do you see an ally? Do you see a rival? Do you see an exploiter? What do you see?
I see a diplomat.
That's not an answer.
When you say that if I see a French diplomat walk through out the door, coming to see me, I see a diplomat that I can sit down and talk with, a civil discussion. The diplomat that comes to defend his interest, and the Senegalese Minister of Foreign Affairs that defend the interests of Senegal and the interests of West Africa in Africa. That's what I see. And then we sit down and talk. It's always, out of conversation, we always can find consensus. But it's up to us to say what we want. It's up to us to negotiate and discuss until we find a common ground.
And what do you want?
That doesn't
What
mean
does Senegal
aggressivity.
want? What does that relationship look like going forward?
Oh, I think that the relationship right now in Senegal is, what we are saying is that we have several partners in the world. Senegal is open to partnership. And we are not a colony, we are an independent country, we are a sovereign country. And like any sovereign country, you have the liberty to partner, to negotiate, to discuss, to exchange with everyone else. It's even surprising to me, honestly, to be asked questions like, how do the French feel when you decide you're going to have another partner? Even though I've lived long
That's
enough
not the question
to
I
understand, I understand, but it's just such a surprise as an African woman, as someone who has traveled the world, who has seen so many developing countries be independent, from Bolivia to Vietnam to South Africa and to West Africa, and to be told, how would you feel if the French army leaves your country? I feel okay. And I think the French should feel okay. I think they will feel okay. But the France I see today will feel very happy when they, to have a partnership with Senegal that is equitable, that is transparent, that is fair, and that is polite. And mind you, I mean, this is what discourse we say to everyone. We are not against anybody, but we are like every country, Senegal's interest first, like any other country. And I think that every African is feeling that way, especially African youth. Africa's interest first. Of course, defending that interest is a process. There are things that we have to get. There are places we want to go. It's a process. But it doesn't mean that we are against other people.